Thank you, John. Good morning, everybody. What an adventure to get to campus this morning, huh? I hope everybody's surviving the cold. I'm Denise Garcia. I'm celebrating 20 years at Northeastern this year. Very exciting. I'm in the Political Science and International Affairs Department. So honored to be here with you. What a great group of people. And thank you for kicking us off as well. Very inspiring. We really appreciate it. So, dear colleagues, my AI journey started about 10 years ago. I was in Geneva a couple times a year, where my alma mater is the University of Geneva. And already working here at Northeastern, of course, and I was in Geneva a couple times a year to observe the negotiations at the United Nations in Geneva, where most of the UN activity takes place actually, to come up with a new international treaty to control autonomous weapons, otherwise known as killer robots. So, I've been observing these negotiations as part of a group of scientists interested in limiting autonomy in warfare. And all of a sudden, around 2017, in these negotiations at the UN, the conversation shifts to AI-assisted systems. 2017, as you know, pivotal year for AI, lots of developments, the transformer algorithm, lots going on. So at this negotiation, like, what's going on here? Why AI-assisted systems, right? So I started saying, well, I'm going to learn about AI as a social scientist, and I did. It was a steep learning curve, still learning. But I started the research for this book back in 2017. At the same time, former Chancellor Chancellor of Germany, Angela Merkel, put together a group of scientists from around the world, social scientists, natural scientists, to follow these negotiations at the UN, and we would meet in Berlin. I was part of this group, an honor to be part of that group for 5 years, and we would go to Geneva and create some scientific papers to advise the process in Geneva. So this book was out of all these negotiations and the high-level diplomacy at the UN in Geneva, New York, and of course the idea of common good governance is what was inspiring me there. So published right before ChatGPT came about, so I just have to write another book now. So while I was writing this book and being part of this Berlin panel, I was, of course, following all that was happening at the high-level negotiations of diplomacy and all the conversations, track two conversations also between China and the US. And I really realized there was an AI military race going on. So this article appeared in Nature back then. Well, zooming out of this military approach to the use of AI, so right now, where am I in my research? Well, I have the luxury of having a sabbatical research starting in July now this year, to which I'm very grateful to my dean, just approved it. So I want to zoom out of the military approach to the use of AI and also examine the whole landscape of the use of AI, but focusing on the diplomatic processes to try to come up with international regulation and global governance on AI. So I started this research already before the sabbatical starts in the context of a major Carnegie grant that one of my dearest colleagues here at Northeastern got, Professor Maya Gross. So we have already had 2 workshops, and my paper is the one looking at all the global diplomacy of AI. And I'm looking at 5 transnational political networks that are, of course, looking at, keeping AI safe, beneficial, principled, out of war, and all of it. So the first network there, dear colleagues, probably many of you are involved. It's, Stuart Russell, Max Tegmark, Geoffrey Hinton, these scientists. We have met already in Paris once for the International Association for Safety and Ethical AI. I was in that first meeting in Paris last February. That was followed by that big meeting AI summit where Vice President J.D. Vance came and gave that very notorious speech. about AI. And then, well, so that is the group I'm looking at, is a real global movement, so to say, for beneficial and safe AI. And the second one is the efforts on like IEEE, UNESCO, very prominently in Paris again. So Paris here becomes a very important diplomatic capital for the efforts to create principled AI. Because of the OSCE, UNESCO, all these organizations really pushing very strongly to create efforts to have ethical and principled AI. So very exciting, human rights law based, right, in all of this, very inspiring, already existing international legal frameworks. And as an international law professor here at Northeastern, where I teach the course every semester, to observe the formation of international law for AI is being very inspiring, even though it's happening, more in glacial pace in some areas, like the AI military, but faster in other areas. The other campaigns I'm observing here, dear colleagues, the third one is in the context of the AI for Good summits. These have been happening in Geneva since 2017, and they are hosted by the ITU, the International Telecommunications Union, that started with the telegraph, now all the way looking at AI regulations. So a very important old international organization for global telecommunications. So lots going on in this third stream there. I will be there this year in July. Lots that I've been writing about. The fourth one has been created for over a decade. It's all about focusing on the creation of a new international treaty on autonomous weapons and AI-assisted systems. So very interesting efforts as well. The last one, dear colleagues, is the one that I'm involved for the last 2 years now. It's this Global Commission on AI in the military domain. These are just some of us there. And here we were in Seoul at the second summit for global responsible for the use of AI responsibly in warfare. So this effort was put together by a number of small and middle power states, South Korea, the Netherlands and others, that are interested really in filling in a vacuum that the US is leaving open for, where the US steps out from world politics, other countries come and try to fill the void of leadership and what needs to get done. So we have been working very hard. We just published our first guidance report. Here it is for us. It was launched a couple months ago at the Security Council meeting in New York, at the UN in New York, where member states discussed AI for the very first time. So our strategic guidance was launched. It's the very first effort to come up with the first rules of the road for the use of AI in the military. Again, the military domain, as you know, is vast. It's not only about the weapon systems, the critical functions, but all of the uses of AI in all of the military domains. So there are very beneficial uses and very complicated uses that raise ethical and legal questions. Dear students and dear colleagues, very excited to be here with you. I think I will stop here, but delighted to be part of this group, and I hope we have other meetings as well with colleagues from across the US and across the world as well in this group. Thank you, Libby. Thank you, John, for organizing all this. I really appreciate it. Thank you.